Good evening, children. Welcome to online class. First language English, 10th standard, second lesson. That is the elixir of life. The elixir of life is written by Sir C.V. Raman. Sir C.V. Raman, 1888 to 1970, his lifetime, 1888 to 1970, had a keen interest in science, even from his boyhood days. For his famous discovery called the Raman effect, he was awarded the Nobel Prize for Physics in 1930. King George knighted him for his contributions to physics. The government of India awarded him the Bharat Ratna, and the Soviet Union honored him with the International Lenin Prize in 1957. The world hailed Raman effect, the discovery of a Raman effect. That is for scientific research in this country. That is, the world hailed the discovery of a Raman effect. It was a red letter day. That is when he discovered the Raman effect. That was the red letter day for our country. His discovery caught the attention of the world. Yeah, what is Raman effect? What is Raman effect? So that is a change of wavelength exhibited by some of the radiation scattered in a medium. So this wavelength scattered in a medium, and the effect is specific to the molecules which cause it, and so can be used in spectroscopic analysis. Scattering here, wavelength, spectroscopic analysis. So what is spectroscopy? So that is used to identify and quantify information about the atoms and the molecules. Spectroscopy is also used in astronomy and to read remote sensing objects on Earth. So that's why he was awarded Nobel Prize. Now, coming to the lesson. Here, first one, man has through the ages sought in vain for an imaginary elixir of life, the divine Amrita, to confer immortality. But the true elixir of life lies near to our hands, for it is the commonest of all liquids, plain water. That is the divine Amrita, that is, it will make man immortal. That is everlasting, no death. That's what people are searching for that Amrita through the ages, but they did not find. But the true elixir, where it is near our hands only, that is water. Water is the real elixir of all the liquids. That is commonest. So water is very common. Then it is used for drinking, first main thing. So plain water. So that is Amrita. Second para, you'll go to find out that I remember one day standing on the line which separates the Libyan desert from the valley of the Nile in Egypt. On one side was visible a sea of billowing sand without a speck of green or single living thing anywhere visible on it, while on the other side lay one of the greenest, most fertile, and densely populated areas to be found anywhere on the earth, teeming with life and vegetation. What made this wonderful difference? Why? It is the water of the river Nile flowing down to the Mediterranean from its sources a couple of thousands of miles away. So when you are standing, that is on a line that is separating Libyan desert and Egypt. So what you can see, that is, so this is a river Nile, this is a Libyan desert, and this side is Egypt. So where the Nile flows, it drains into the sea, that is Mediterranean Sea. So this separates the river Nile, separates the Libyan desert and Egypt. Nile in the Egypt. So Valley of Nile in the Egypt. So one side we can see Sea of Billowings. So that is, see here, Billowings, and you can't even see a speck of green plant or anything, single living thing anywhere visible here. That is, on the other side lay one of the greenest. So this side lay, that is greenest, most fertile, densely populated area. We cannot find that type of population, densely crowded. Where? Anywhere on the earth. Here, where? That is a Nile. Teeming with the life and vegetation, what you can see? You can see life, you can vegetation together, whereas on the other side, only the sand is spread without a single green dot. That is not even a single plant. Why? Why is this difference? What made this difference? Because only river Nile, that is river Nile, that is the water. It made this difference, it brought this difference to Egypt, that is which flows down to the Mediterranean Sea. So what is the length of the river Nile? You know, 6,650 kilometers. Third para is telling geologists tell that the entire soil of the Nile Valley is the creation of the river itself. What the geologists tell? The entire soil of the Nile Valley is the creation of the river itself. So Nile, that is river valley, is creation. Nile river itself made. It was brought down as the finest silt in its flood waters from the highlands of Abyssinia and from center Africa, and laid down through the ages in the trough through which the Nile flows into the sea. Egypt, in fact, was made by its river, and its ancient civilization was created and is sustained by the life-giving waters which come down year after year with unfailing regularity. So here, geologists, what they tell, that is entire soil of the Nile Valley, that is brought by the creation of the river itself. So valley is, soil is made by the river itself. It was brought down as the finest silt. So nice sand, finest silt. That is very minute particles of sand. That is called a silt. In its flood waters, when it comes down, when the river floods, what happens? Is flooding, it brings water along with the sand also from the highlands of Abyssinia and from remote Central Africa, and laid down through the ages in the troughs. Here Abyssinia, then here valleys, the water river flows like this, and then that is here Nile river originates where? In Burundi, that is here south of the equator, and flows northward through Africa. This is Africa, and then where it And also it reaches Egypt. From Egypt, it drains into the Mediterranean Sea. So this is the course of a Nile River. So that's what he's telling. And I gave this example and could give many others to emphasize that this common substance, that is water, which we take for granted in our everyday life, is the most potent and the most wonderful thing on the face of our earth. So on earth, if you say, so what is very, very powerful, that is water is the most powerful and wonderful thing on the earth. It has played a role of vast significance in shaping the course of the earth's history also. If you see civilizations are where they are born where near the river bank only. So that's what play river plays an important role in bringing the civilization and continues to play the leading role in the drama of life on the surface of our planet. So the people settle where? Near the river water only. Here. Now, fifth para, there is nothing which adds so much to the beauty of the countryside as water. So be it just a little stream trickling over the rocks or a little pond by the wayside where the cattle quench their thirst. Of an evening. The rain-fed tanks that are so common in South India, alas, often so sadly neglected in their maintenance, are a cheering sight when they are full. They are, of course, shallow, but this is less evident since the water is silt laden and throws the light back, and the bottom does not therefore show up. These tanks play a vital role in South Indian agriculture. Some of these tanks are surprisingly large, and it is beautiful sight to see the sun rise or set over one of them. Water in a landscape may be compared to the eyes in a human face. It reflects the mood of the hour, being bright and gay when the sun shines, turning to dark and gloomy when the sky is overcast. So what happened? It's very important, very nice to see little stream where in the countryside you can see little stream then that is trickling water through the rocks or anything. It is very beautiful to see and see the cattle quenching their thirst when in the evening time when they come back from grazing. The rain-fed tanks. So these are all rain-fed tanks. It's all common in South India. Even if you, that is in temples also you got a tank, that is water tank. So oh, it is cheerful sight to see when it is full. When it is full, when there is a rain, then they are not very deep. They are shallow only, but you can't make out the depth. The reason is because the bottom is filled with that is what silt laden bottom. That's why you cannot make it, but it reflects the light what it is getting. So it is a cheering sight to see, and mostly a vital role they play in where South India. In South Indian agriculture, they believe mostly on this water only for agriculture. And some of these tanks are surprisingly large. Some are very large and very beautiful to see. Also, you can see sunrise and sunset both, and it reflects the water-fed tanks reflect the mood of the people, that is mood of the nature, and it is very bright when the sun shines nicely, and when it turns gray or dark when the sky is or it is about to rain. So this is thing you can make it to that side is compared to the eyes in a human face. So it looks like a eyes only. So he has compared the water-fed tank to the eyes of a human face. The next one is sixth. One of the most remarkable facts about water is its power to carry silt or finely divided soil in suspension. This is the origin of the characteristic color of the water in rain-fed tanks. See, rain-fed tanks, what is the color? This color varies with the nature of the earth in the catchment area and is most vivid immediately after a fresh inflow following rain. Swiftly flowing water can carry fairly large and heavy particles. The finest particles, however, remain floating within the liquid in spite of their greater density and are, of course, extremely small, but the number is also great. Here, this para is telling about the water power. What it has got power? It has got power to carry the silt. That is, silt means finely divided sand particles, soil, in suspension. So that is the origin of the characteristic color of the water-fed tanks. So these water-fed tanks carry the color of the silt. Here, the nature of the earth, that is, when it water flows along the, that is a route, when it is coming, then what happens? It reaches the catchment area. From there, what happens? It is immediately, it looks fresh, and that is the rainwater is collected. It becomes, that is inflow. The water is coming through by because of the rain. No, it gets collected in the catchment area, and swiftly flowing water can carry. When the water flows very fast, it can carry the silt also along with it. And then, in spite of the greater density, even though if it is water is flowing very forcefully, then what if it carries the big particles also along with it? So like that, the water helps to carry the silt from one place to the other place and making that area fertile. The flow of water has undoubtedly played a great part and a beneficent one in the geological processes by which the soil on the earth's surface has been formed from the rocks of its crust. The same agency, however, under appropriate conditions, can also play a destructive part and wash away the soil, which is the foundation of all agriculture, and is allowed to proceed unchecked. If it is allowed to proceed unchecked, they can have the most disastrous effect on the life of the country. The problem of soil erosion is one of the serious import in various countries, and especially in many parts of India. The conditions under which it occurs and the measures by which it can be checked deserve the closest study. So, sixth para is telling about the collection of silt by the running water, that is was river flood. So, seventh para is telling sometimes what happens, the river flood also carries away, that is greater part of the silt and making the soil desert. So that is, in such cases, why it becomes a desert? If that soil, what is collected by the flood, that is a river, when it is not checked, that is, if the soil silt is not maintained there, what happens? It will flow away and that area becomes dry. So it won't be fertile. So then it becomes in that clay that is called the soil erosion. So then problem of soil erosion, what is it? It's a very, very important in most of the countries, and also they are facing, and also in parts of many parts of India also we are facing soil erosion. The conditions under which it occurs and measures. So what we should do, we should think of that checking soil erosion. So it deserves, that's very, very important to study. The next one is eighth. Soil erosion occurs in successive steps, the earliest of which may easily pass unnoticed. In the later stages, the cutting up and washing away of the earth is only too painfully apparent in the formation of deep gullies and ravines, which make all agriculture impossible. Sudden bursts of excessively heavy rain, resulting in a large runoff of surplus water, are the principal factors in causing soil erosion. Contributory causes are the slope of the land, then removal of the natural protective coat of a vegetation, the existence of ruts along which the water can flow with the rapidly gathering momentum, and the absence of any checks to such flow. Incredibly large quantities of precious soil can be washed away if such conditions exist, as is unhappily too often the case. So we often face the soil erosion. So that is, see the soil erosion, how it is, how it has cut the earth like this. See, the plantation itself is then eroded away, it's carried away. So that is, it happens in successive steps. That's what is success. It cuts up the land. How? Washing away the earth. It is very painful that it makes deep gullies and ravines. So that what, in such places we can't make agriculture because the land becomes, then here it won't be plain. It will be ups and down will be there. And sudden burst of excessive heavy rain, it surplus water is carried away. It carries along with the sand also, that causes soil erosion. So removal of natural protective coat also, vegetation also goes away. Then exists of ruts, so it flows rapidly. If the water flows rapidly, everything is then removed like this. See here. So what we should do? We should check soil erosion. Otherwise, what will happen? It will create, that is silt soil. Then we won't get fertile land. It's unhappily too often it happens, that is in India. And next, the menace which soil erosion presents. The menace which soil erosion presents to the continuance of successful agriculture is an alarming one in many parts of India, calling urgently for attention and preventive action. The terracing of the land, the construction of bunds to check the flow of water, the practice of contour cultivation, the planting of appropriate types of vegetation are amongst the measures that have been suggested. It is obvious that the aim should be to check the flow of water at the earliest possible stage before it has acquired any appreciable momentum and correspondingly larger destructive power. So that's what, how we can check soil erosion. So that is, see, the soil erosion, they kept this all bunds here. So if you keep like this, what happens? The water flow will be, then the speed will be reduced and the water, that silt will stay there only. If it's not checked like this, what will happen? The full, that is silt also will flow away along with the water. So that's why then they have to do, that is throughout the water flow, that is to stop the silt carrying away by river. And then next here, they are making terrace here in hillside, they make like terrace. So that here, that is here also they made terrace. So what happened? The water flow will be reduced. So like this, they make steps and grow plants. So that is the flow of water will be reduced. That is checking the flow of water. If we have to do it at the earliest, otherwise what will happen? You will have, that is, you have to experience the destructive power of water. 10th, water is the basis of all life. Every animal and every plant contains a substantial proportion of free combined water in its body. So we also have water in our body, that the percentage of water in our body is 2/3. And no kind of physiological activity is possible in which the fluid does not play an essential part. Water is, of course, necessary for animal life, while moisture in the soil is equally imperative for the life and the growth of plants and trees. The preservation and utilization of water is thus fundamental for human welfare. Apart from artesian water, the ultimate source in all cases is rain or snowfall. So much of Indian agriculture depends on seasonal rainfall and is therefore very sensitive to any failure or irregularity of the same. The problems of soil erosion and of inadequate or irregular rainfall are closely connected with each other. It is clear that The adoption of techniques preventing soil erosion would also help to conserve and keep the water where it is wanted. In other words, on and in the soil, and such techniques therefore solve a double survey, double purpose here. So what are the basis of all life? So even animals, plants, everything, that is every being that is require water, and a animal and every plant, it ever contain water in their body. That is physiological activities possible without water. So that is even grass or plants also, then they have moisture in the morning, the dew drops. That is, if you see, watch the plants in the early morning, you will see dew drops on the plants. That is a moisture. So the even soil also, then what? It is, it will be wet. So that is due to the moisture in the atmosphere. And what is that? So these are all very, very important. And the growth of plants, it helps, the moisture helps the growth of plants and the trees also. And here, preservation and utilization of water is very, very essential, because then only the human beings can have can lead a peaceful life. That is, otherwise what happen, they have to search for a water. And from artesian, see, this is a artesian wells. So water they are getting, that is from underground water. These are all called artesian wells. And where do we get fresh water? We get fresh water from, that is rainwater. Rain, that is from water has been evaporated into Earth's atmosphere. Then this is drinking water, then water for crops. Rainwater is used. Now groundwater, that is here largest source. Groundwater is the largest source, and drinking water, and after desalinated and refined, you can drink it. And icy water, so melting of the ice here, that is reduction of ice shelves over the Arctic, and second largest source. So ice is the second largest source. So then we are getting fresh water, these sources. From these sources we get water. So what we should do, we should try to preserve the water what we are getting. So that we should find out some techniques. Now, next one is, it is evident, however, that in the country having only a seasonal rainfall. So whatever seasonal rainfall or immense quantity of rainwater must necessarily run off the ground. The collection and utilization of this water is therefore of a vital importance. So what we should do, we are depending on a rainwater and then this river water. And what we should do, we should then collect it, we should see that, we should maintain it, we should preserve it. Much of it flows down into the streams and the rivers and ultimately finds its way to the sea. We have to preserve it, otherwise what happens? The river water then reaches in the end where, and joins the sea. Incredibly large quantities of the precious fluid, that is water, are thus lost to the country. So most part of the water, that is the river water, is there, join the sea, lost. It is a great loss to the country because they go under where, merge in the sea. And the harnessing of, so we have to harness means we have to preserve of our rivers, the waters of which now mostly run to waste, is a great and national problem which must be considered and dealt with on national. So we have to preserve, that's what it's very, very important to preserve. Times vast areas of land, that is which mere scrub jungle could be turned into fertile and prosperous country by courageous and well-planned action. If we try to save the water, and what we can change, that is a scrub jungle into a fertile land, so that the country will become prosperous and courageous also, and the people will get more employment. So like that, the whole country and people all will be then helped by such, by conserving the, by preserving the flow, that is water, and closely connected with the conservation. Closely connected with the conservation is of water supplies is the problem of afforestation. So what is that? Why we cannot conserve water? Because what we need for conservation, we need because afforestation. They are what do you mean by afforestation? Because they here that is they cut down here that is trees and to say what they change the land that is to construct buildings. So they see how they are cutting the trees. So what happened afforestation? The systematic planting of suitable trees in every possible or even in impossible areas and the development of what one can call civilized forest as distinguished from wild and untamed jungles is one of the most urgent needs of India. Now you might have heard about that during Vanamosa day, then what even our country also then plan that is grow saplings planting that is where in such a that is impossible areas they are doing that is to make forests that is civilized forest. Civilized forest means man planted the plants saplings and then growing as distinguished from wild and untamed jungles because it becomes there you won't find wild animals or untamed jungles is one of the most urgent needs of India. Such plantation would directly and indirectly prove a source of untold wealth and to the country, and they would check soil erosion and conserve the rainfall of the country from flowing away to waste. So what I was telling, then if you have such a forest, that is what will happen. The rain flow water, rainwater, no, the flowing will be checked. And the measures are necessary to control the movements of water and conserve the supplies of it can also serve subsidiary purposes of value to the life of the countryside. By far, the cheapest form of international transport in a country is by boats and barges through canals and rivers. We hear much about programs of rail and road construction, but for too little about the development of internal waterways in India. So what happened? How we can control the movement of water? If we control what will happen, it will help for internal, that is transport, that is water transport we can do because lot of amount is spent for water, rail and road construction, and this water transport will reduce our expenditure also. That's what in India it is very less and too little about the development of internal waterways in India. Then again, the harvesting of water supplies usually also makes possible the development of hydroelectric power. See, this is a, I told you know, so water, the river that is it's used for what? Water transport like this, so that the expenditure will be reduced. And here the water is stored and used for a hydroelectric power. And here this one, water is stored that is in height and it is brought down. Then here when the water comes with the force here that is what turbines are there and the water force what it makes the turbine to rotate and then here power is created from this the generation of power is stored so here and we use and the remaining water flows for agriculture, so like that. And so these are the ideas how to use water that is usefully. So for that is for our country development. The availability electric power, if you have got more electric power, that is using water, if we use it, that is for generating power, availability of electric power would make a tremendous difference to the life of the countryside and enable the rural economy to be improved in various directions if you have got hydroelectric power. In particular, it would enable underground water to be tapped to a greater extent than at present. So we have to tap underground water also and thus help to overcome the difficulties arising from irregularity or inadequacy of other sources of supply. What is that irregularity? If the rain doesn't come, that is we are depending on the rainwater, and then because the river also whatever, then they dry up if the rain is not regular. So like this. In one sense, the water is the commonest of liquids. So water is the commonest of all liquids. And in another sense, it is the most uncommon of liquids, which amazing properties. So if you compare other liquids, water is having amazing properties that is responsible for Its unique power of maintaining animal and plant life. It has got a special, that is very stain, and that is power. What is that? Maintaining animal. So plant life. So because of water only, we are having animal life and plant life that is maintained mostly. The investigation of the nature and properties of water is therefore of the highest scientific interest. So what we should do? You should start investigating the water availability and using water properly without wasting it. The highest. So we have to see. We have to find out some scientific methods. So far from an exhausted field of research. So we should try to conserve and use it without wasting. So water, this has only two aspects. What is it? Water has got only two aspects. When mixed with anything, it is need. So that is we mix the water. That is we cook and we drink. These are all. When not, it is a life. So otherwise, water is a life. So thank you, children.